Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I am down here in the existentially excellent studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. All right, let's jump right into this week's topic. So we are knee-deep in the summer, as you may know. Whenever this episode comes out, we'll still be in the month of June. And right now at this point in time, it is like all up in some all-star season. There are a bunch of competitive teams that are kicking off their thing, all about baseball, all about softball. This is the summer events, right? So football will be coming up down the road a little ways, but right now we're all about baseball and softball. So I thought to myself, what better moment to bring in a friend of mine that I met recently that will have something to bring to this conversation from a lot of perspectives. So I know that you're going to get a lot out of my guest. And this week, my guest is Mr. Brandon Montgomery. He turns out that he's actually a firefighter with Collierville. He previously was a firefighter here in Hernando. But before those days, before the days of firefighting and saving people's lives, my man here played for the Dodgers organization up to the AAA team, and he now also is a big part of Beast Athletics out in Collierville. So at this time, please give a round of applause. He can hear you over the radio. He can definitely hear you if you're watching on YouTube. Mr. Brandon Montgomery, how's it going, buddy?
Man, it's going good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about it.
Bro, this is some fun stuff, right? So this is your first podcast?
First podcast.
How about that? Well, I like to be that, and then just don't worry about anything. It's relaxed, and people are like, oh, man, Coach Camp's going to mess up a whole bunch, so don't worry about the errors. Get what I'm doing there? So you're just going to be fine. Just play your game. Play your game. Gotcha. So, Brandon, whenever I was talking to you, recently, this is a fun fact, taught him at AMT school down at Southwest Mississippi or Southwest Tennessee Community College. And, you start telling me a little bit about your background, playing some AAA ball with the Dodgers. And then at that time, it was at the very inception of you getting involved in Beast Athletics. So I want to get into the baseball stuff. I want to get into what you do at Beast Athletics, and we'll talk a little bit about the firefighting. But one of the things that I always need to do is get some background on my guests. So start out by just telling me where you're from, family members, brothers, sisters, stuff like that.
Man, I was actually born in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
I was born there, moved here to Collierville probably when I was like 8 years old. And I have an older brother who is 32. He lives in Chicago right now. He's actually an engineer for Barnhart Crane and Rigging.
Okay.
So he lives up there, married with 3 kids. And then I'm also married to Alex. We also got 3 kids. We got an older daughter, a middle son, and a younger son.
Are y'all in a competition?
I think so.
Yeah. Who's going to win?
We're both done, so I think it's a tie.
It's a tie. All right, it happens. Never in baseball, but sometimes in soccer.
Yep.
I don't know. So what brought him to Chicago? The job?
Yeah, the job. So he started here in Memphis, and they're like, hey, if you just go up to Chicago, like it's better to move up through the
ranks.
Through the ranks.
Yeah. And so what brought you to Collierville then? Family?
My dad. Yep, he's a FedEx pilot. So
well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
FedEx being obviously the Memphis hub, no doubt. Is he still flying?
He does.
How about that?
I think he's got 3 more years left, and then can hit retirement.
Jeez. So then what's he going to do? Just get
help
a personal plane and fly? He's going to help coach baseball, right?
Yep.
So growing up, you were basically here in Collierville whenever you got here as a kid. So growing up, obviously you played baseball. Did you play other sports?
I played football. I did. Played quarterback for a couple of years. But outside of that, my spirals weren't the best in the world.
Yeah.
So I guess
so you were the quarterback, and then where'd you go to? Nothing?
Receiver.
Receiver.
Yep.
Right.
I could run and catch.
Yeah, it's good.
I didn't like getting hit.
So
my football career ended a little early once I got into high school. I would just catch and try to run away from everybody.
Yeah. How old were you at that time whenever you gave it all up?
15.
So I was in 7th grade, which I guess that puts you at about, 12 years old? Something like
12,
that.
13 area.
Yeah, and I was a little guy, so my pituitary gland had not kicked in yet. You should know about that from class. And I was so small, and then it seemed like a couple of guys, they were born with all of the adult genetics, like full chest of hair. And after about the 5th time in the 2nd week of getting crushed down to like a cartoonish level flat, I said, maybe I should just stick with baseball. Maybe that's a better idea. Yeah, so that's what I ended up doing. So I was like, football's not my thing. So I ended up just giving that up in 7th grade. My dreams of being a professional football player was gone quick. But I did love baseball, and I just I don't know. I always saw myself as being the second baseman for the Yankees. I think I was supposed to have played alongside Derek Jeter, and we were going to have this whole long friendship thing. It didn't work out. Anyway, that's another story.
Hey, I had the same dreams.
With Jeter.
With Jeter.
You're not as old as me.
No.
So, I mean, like, you had to be a kid when Jeter was in his prime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, watching him, me and, like, all my buddies that we all played before, like, all right, I'm going to be at short. You're going to be at second. You're going to be at center field. Jeter, sorry, buddy. But, like.
So you were going to put Jeter out of business. I was going to be turning two with him. That's what I was looking at. I was thinking me and him, you know, we'll be buddies. Yeah. But instead, Chuck Knobloch got the job, and then there was a whole thing there. So, so growing up playing baseball, tell me a little bit about what that was like in the family. Was baseball life for the family?
It was life.
Yeah. That's how it is a lot of times, right?
My dad played college football. And then none of us really picked up football as hard as he did. I think I did whatever my brother did.
Okay.
Whatever he did, I did.
You said he was 32, so how many years difference is there?
I might have messed up. He's 7 years difference.
7 years difference. Okay. All right. So
he's probably like 34, 35.
All right. So who knows? He's 7 years different.
Yeah,
so that's significant because my brother's 6 years younger than me. And what kind of happened, and I don't know if this is the same, but I love baseball. And so from the time he was about 2, I was pulling him in the yard to play. And then so by the time he's 6 or 7 and he's playing against, you know, guys that are 6 years older than him, essentially, it made him so much better. Yes. So by the time he got up to junior high, I mean, he was light years ahead of most of the guys his age because he was forced to play at that higher level. Was that similar with you and your brother?
Yes. I've actually played a couple games with my brother's team when they were 14. I was 7.
Wow.
And they threw me over at second base in like a little scrimmage, but I did everything with them. I think that's what.
At the age of 7. Wow. And
Very
so
scary.
did you see that as, I mean, at 7 years old, you don't know a lot of stuff, but did you see that as like, wow, that's amazing?
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, well, maybe I might actually have a shot in this.
You know, it's funny. There's a girl that played with my daughter for several years, and she has a sister that's about 3 years younger than her. Now, when you're 13 and a kid's 10, or you're 12 and the kid's 9, there's a significant size difference there. Difference. And her younger sister was like that little bitty baby pit bull that just, I was scared of her little sister. It's like, you know, the older sister was kind of calm. She was a really great ball player, but the younger sister was ferocious. That has not changed. She's still that person to this very day. Very competitive, hyper competitive. So tell me a little bit about that. Growing up, did your family, were they obviously big into sports, but were they like really competitive? Like, did y'all constantly try to outdo each other? Yes. Kind of like the Duck Dynasty brothers?
Yep, all the time.
Yeah.
Very. Especially my brother was a natural switch hitter.
Oh.
Just natural lefty, natural right. That's just, and I've always wanted to do that. And I'm like, you're not going to be better than me at this. I'm going to try to switch hitter.
Interesting.
It didn't work out too well.
Yeah, so it didn't go that way.
No, so I'll always try to one-up him, and, yeah, I can never catch up to the switch hitting at all. You
know what's funny about that is I could have switch hit. My dad always made me, whenever I come up to the bat, he made me bat right-handed all the time. But in the backyard, we play backyard baseball a lot. In fact, I think that's one of the things that generations today, they will never truly appreciate and understand the lack of entertainment that we had as kids. So it was all up to us to bring our own entertainment.
Yep.
We had like, and this is me growing up, I'm considerably older than you. So at my age growing up, we had black and white TV. We had like 12 or 10 channels. Most of those were public service channels. Nobody wanted to watch. You really only had like 4 real channels you wanted to watch. And our mom in the summertime, the moment we would wake up and eat breakfast, she kicked us out of the house. We were not allowed back in. Drink out of the water hose, figure it out. There's probably berries in the field. Go get you something to eat. You guys will survive. You'll do what you need to do. And then come back in when the lights come on outside on the street. Yep. And so we stayed gone. Well, that meant that we did a lot of outside stuff, whether it was hunting or building forts or whatever, but there was a lot of baseball. And so to make it interesting, what we started doing, did you ever collect baseball cards?
I did. I did baseball cards and actually a little bit of Pokemon cards too.
Look, nothing wrong with that. Hashtag throw that nerd in there. That's good, man. I like it, man. We're just real people carrying some cards around.
Exactly.
No, don't judge me.
Nope.
So I collected baseball cards. Now, the cards I had from the age of about 8 to 13, their net value is about 0.00 because I used them in our games. So what we would do is I had the team stacked up, so like the Cardinals, the Yankees, the Mets, whatever, and then we would choose a team after we chose our players, and there's usually 5 or so on a team, and then we use the cards. And so when you'd flip the card over, however that person batted is how you had to bat when you went up. So it was left-handed batter, you had to bat left-handed, bat right. Switch, you could choose, and so it forced every person in the neighborhood to bat left and right at some point in time because we were going off the cards and we were those players in our mind.
Like real life fantasy.
It was real life fantasy ball.
Fantasy baseball.
Yeah. And I was not a good loser. And I told the kids a lot, they would all attest to this, that apparently I was a walking rule book knower, even though I don't know that all those rules I stated were real. So I would say, like, that's in the rules, and you can't this, but it probably was wrong.
Yeah.
But anyways.
You gotta win.
Well, that was the idea. And it's funny because so many times we all had varying age levels of our brothers and sisters, and the girls still had to play. I mean, if they were a little tomboyish, you're out here playing. Yeah. And they're out there batting left-hand, right-handed. And, man, I would get so aggravated whenever the players on my team were the lesser talented ones. Yeah. It's like, God,
the last picked ones.
It drives me crazy. But nevertheless, I think it really taught us a lot of good, valuable lessons about, being competitive and then trying to get the most out of what you got. So growing up as a kid playing baseball, at what age would you say you had the idea, maybe I could make this my career?
Man, I hear this story all the time.
Yeah.
I don't remember it because I was young, but I got kicked out of T-ball when I was 3. They said I was hitting it too hard. They said I was.
You were hitting it too hard.
They said I was a threat to the pitcher if I hit him.
Yeah, so I have seen those kids.
I got kicked out and had to go to coach pitch at 3.
And so that obviously didn't click in your head that, hey, I'm a prodigy. But you clearly at some point see that your talent levels, escalated a little bit. So can you say that there was an age where you're like, all right, I'm going to be a professional baseball player?
Man, I was an early bloomer. I was how you're the exact opposite. I was an early one.
Got you.
I was like at 8, 10 years old, I was like a good head taller plus than everybody in the league. I was an early bloomer. I was probably honestly this size when I was like 13 and like not grown since. So man, it was growing up and everything. It was probably about 3 home runs a game. Like 600. If I was ever below 500, I was hearing it from my parents.
Yeah.
So I think I was just an early bloomer. And when that happened, everybody was like, man, this dude's going to be like 6'5". Like, this is going to be
stroking homers all the time.
Yeah. No, stopped at like 5'11".
Well, I mean, look, and that 5'11", obviously we know one thing about Major League Baseball, if you guys watch. Size does not actually matter. I mean, you've seen the contrasting picture of Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve, I'm sure, next to each other. It's like this little bitty guy next to this monstrous dude. It's like, and they're both able to jack the ball like anything. So that is one of the things about baseball that I truly do appreciate, is that the limitation is really what you put on yourself or sometimes what your God-given talent is. Because let's be honest, I think it's fair to say in sports in general, there are things that you can control and you can work on and you can be better at. But then there are those things that are just natural. Like an artist can just draw and they can learn how to do better, but they were just born with the talent. And I think that athletics is a lot the same. Some people are just born with a natural talent towards certain sports. And so was there anything else that you were thinking about growing up that, hey, look, if baseball don't work out, I'm 12, maybe I'll do this. Was there any other interest?
Man, it was literally baseball was my life.
Baseball was life.
Me and my brother were sitting around Christmas this past year with our wives and everything and family. I'm like, hey, do you ever remember going on vacation growing up? Like, I've never been on vacation. And my parents were like, well, y'all went to the beach and stuff. I was like, what were we doing at the beach? Like playing baseball.
Playing baseball, yeah.
How's that vacation? So I have never been on a actual vacation until 2 years ago. First time in my whole entire life.
And so looking at that, and 2 years ago, and what you're like 20 now, so you were 18.
No, I'm 28 now.
Okay, so I was just messing. So growing up, then did you see that as a problem, or was that was what you wanted?
Yeah,
that was what you wanted. So let's think about this then, because this is all what I'm building points toward, and give you some personal background on some stuff. Did you feel burned out? Or did you feel like you were being influenced too much to play too much, or was it what you genuinely wanted?
Yeah.
It was a passion.
Yeah, it was a passion. It was literally a lifestyle.
How many games would you say you played per year on average?
Ooh, over 100, easy.
From what age? Starting at what age?
Probably starting at first year competitive, probably 8 years old, 7. And
so 7 or 8 years old. Yeah. All right. So bring up all of that, because let's talk about some of the elephants in the room, if we will. We kind of talked about this a little bit before the start of our episode here. And there's a lot to be said about burning a kid out. All right. So you've heard this burnout stuff. And let's face it, I think this is pretty safe to say. I know I'm generalizing, so I'm not speaking for every human being on earth, but I think it's safe to say that a lot of parents see something in their kid that may or may not be there. That's not being rude. They think that they're better than maybe they are. And then they push them and they put them in 9,000 hitting clinics, fielding clinics, pitching clinics. They have them going to something 6-7 days a week. They're constantly going, and then the pressure on the kid. Do you think it was different back then as far as like the overall perception of what a kid needs to be? Because you'll see people getting into competitive ball at 5, 6, 7 years old, and they're doing rep after rep after rep. And I have personally coached, I don't know, I would say several dozen players over the years that once they got into their mid-teens, they were phenomenal ball players and hated the sport. Yeah. Like my nephew, that is a phenomenal baseball player and gave it up at the age of 14, said he never wants to be on a baseball field again. So did you see it different back then? Did you see anything like that where players were just like, I've had enough, I can't do this?
Man, the players I have noticed that it happened to, that was more the parents either didn't do that well in that sport, so they want their parents to do better than them.
Living vicariously, yeah.
So they're pushing them harder, and then it ends up actually pushing them away from it.
Yeah.
I think what's different, I know with the guys I grew up with, like everybody wanted to do it. Like they were dragging their parents out of the house, like, hey, let's go to the hitting cages. Let's go out in the field. Let's go take ground balls. Let's go do this. And I think nowadays it's more like the dads are, hey, get outside. No more playing video games. No more doing this. Because as you talked about when you were growing up, black and white TV, when I would go over to my grandparents' house, we would sit outside and pick out the pecans, hit them with the bats.
Yeah.
And then like PlayStation didn't come out until I was like in middle school. So I was like, okay, this is weird. I'm not doing this. Like, I like going outside.
And when you did choose to play, was it baseball?
No, it was actually Call of Duty.
Because I was notorious for
and Slugfest.
Slugfest, yeah.
That is
I would try to stack my team as much as I could, and then just beat the snot out of everybody on the game, whatever. So yeah, and then like you had like the old timer stuff. So I have like Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth on my team and everything. So it's fun. But I didn't get into probably gaming anything until I was like 15 or 16 because this is kind of when everything started. Nintendo was the thing. Nintendo came out, and so I will say that those things are distractions. Now kids have a phone they walk around with as a constant distraction. We're at practice just yesterday, and every time there was a water break and my players would come into the bench for a second to get water, every one of them, well, maybe not every one, the bulk of them was grabbing their phone, looking at their phone.
Yeah. That's one of my team rules. It's like no phones during practice, no phones during the game. If I catch it, I'm going to sling that thing over the fence.
It's incredible, right? Because it's a constant distraction. And what it tells you, too, is what's on their mind. They're not thinking about practice. They're not thinking about the game. They're thinking about, I wonder who's texted me. I wonder who snapped me or whatever else they do out there.
Yeah, what's happening in the social media world.
It is the social media curse in so many ways. And so looking at what we have as far as challenges go, whether we're coaching or wanting to play the game, and then you look at I would just say the plethora of opportunities people have to put their kids into an abundance of schools to overdo it. How do you find balance, Brandon?
Man, communication, honestly, just talking between parents and kids. Like, that's the biggest thing. When I tell these parents nowadays, they're like, hey, how often do you think they should be doing this or doing that? I'm like, just don't force them. Like, once they get to an age and the motivation happens where, like, okay, this is what I want to do. Yeah. Then that's it. The worst thing you can ever do is tell a kid you have to do this. Yeah, you can't force passion. You cannot do it. I mean, let's just talk about this for a second. I'm going to relate. We cross-relate. And by the way, when it comes to sports in general, obviously, I don't know if y'all know this or not, my title's Coach Camp. And so sports is the very foundation of everything that I stem from in life experience, philosophies, etc. We'll talk about EMS, all right? Because we're going to relate this to baseball. Really quick, you're going to see how this works. If you're not out there in the world of EMS or know about this, you're about to. Right now, most of the big departments, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of the big departments are requiring, if you get hired, you have X amount of time to get your paramedic license. Yep. Okay? Now, I want to relate this to me. Whenever I started down the road of wanting to become a firefighter and I found the world of EMS, I was excited about both. I could not get enough of both. I wanted to learn everything I could about fighting fire. I wanted to learn everything I could about rescue. I wanted to learn everything I could about EMS. I wanted to know everything I could possibly get my hands on. And that drove me. Every single day I was studying, practicing. It's probably not different than baseball in your analogy or your example of you were constantly thinking about it, wanting to go out and play it. This is the same thing with EMS. Now imagine
what we talked about, where you're putting a player, a kid, into all these clinics, making them go to all this stuff. They don't really want to be there. And they're not getting better, and the parents are frustrated. Well, why are they not getting better? They don't love it. It's not their passion.
Yeah.
So I say this to you, seeing if you can see it the same way.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Putting people into an EMS world where the consequences are not you struck out or you threw the ball over first base head. You kill somebody.
Yeah. Fired.
You can't create passion for something that is even in a job. Would you agree?
I agree with that.
I mean, baseball, of course, you can make money in baseball, make a lot of money in baseball. I don't have to tell everybody that. They know that. I mean, Austin Riley, right up the road, making a lot of money playing baseball. But in the world of EMS, you cannot think to yourself, well, they're going to get paid this, and that should compensate them because once you get your paramedic, you get this extra money, blah, blah, blah. It's not an incentive to have. It's not something that's going to drive a passion.
No.
Money's not going to drive the passion. The passion will pay off in a paycheck because you've pursued it. That's what I have spoke to so many kids about, was don't chase a paycheck. It will not provide you the passion you want.
No.
It doesn't matter how much you get paid. If you hate it, you will find a way to fail at it. Let's take Austin Riley as the example. I don't know exactly how much you make, 20-something million a year.
But easily.
Yeah. If he started hating baseball, would that money still motivate him to keep going?
No.
No, he's going to start striking out, making errors. He shows up every day, and I don't know the guy personally, but I watch his work ethic. I've seen him on TV, and I know about him from around town. He's down here in Hernando. He puts the work in 12 months out of the year because he loves the game.
Yeah.
It ain't the paycheck. I mean, like right now, Brandon, right now, you've been out of baseball how long?
2020, so 4 years.
4 years. Do you have any less love for it?
No.
Is that why you continue to coach, mentor, teach at the academy and stuff?
Yes, I can't get enough.
You cannot get enough.
Last night, it was probably about 10 o'clock when I have stuff on my mind. The only thing that clears my mind is going up to the hitting cages.
Yeah.
Just go to the batting cages, just hit. And not even playing baseball, not working on anything. I go up there 11 o'clock last night.
And when I mentioned to you about coming down to Hernando and doing a hitting clinic for my girls and ask you how much would you charge me, what'd you say?
Free.
And are they paying you $20 million a year to coach at the Beast Athletics? Yeah. So what does that tell you?
That I love it.
When you have a passion and it's real, the money is a byproduct. And that's what I want the parents to know. And that's what I want the players to know. Because I know a lot of kids watch this series, and you cannot overemphasize the need to love what you do. People said this a lot of times. It's cliche, I get it. But when they say, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Well, it's cliche because it's been said 1,000 times or more or whatever. But the point behind it is real, in that when you actually love it, it's not like work. Hey, full disclosure, Brandon, I'm not making $20 million a year podcasting. Turns out it's a lot of work to book people, come in, do the interviews, edit the stuff, put it out every week, and we stay on a schedule. Man, why do I do it? Because I love it.
Yeah. I tell a lot of young kids, I was like, with baseball, this is literally how it went. Through high school and everything, there's no girlfriends, no hanging out with friends, no vacations, no nothing. And I tell people, when you're passionate about something, you're going to do whatever it takes to get you to the next level. And
it's true.
I tell parents this story all the time. I was like, I don't advise it. It's not the brightest advice in the world. But in high school, when I knew I wanted to go play college baseball, and I knew how to work. I have to outdo everybody. And my dad's always told me, if you're not taking 100 swings a day, some other kid across the country is. So I would actually skip my first 3 periods of school, go down to the batting cages and hit for about 3 hours before school. I would start at 6 in the morning, and I would get done around 9-ish, and then I would go up there, and I end up getting caught and get in trouble. But it's just how bad do you want it? Are you willing to give up one thing to do that passion of yours?
Yeah, pursue it, go all in. It's actually a whole series that I put together called Cannonballing Life. So I don't know if you ever checked that one out yet, but it's all about going full tilt into something. And when you put everything you have into it, at some point, you are going to reach levels of success. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to reach the highest level that you've ever wanted. That's not always reality. But you're going to be way more successful at something when you go all in than if you're just kind of, maybe. Was that why you were late to class so often? You were taking reps in the cage?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. He wasn't late to my class. I have a whole rule about that.
I was one time and I got in trouble.
I have a whole rule about don't be late to my class. It's about accountability and it's actually buying into the process, right? The program. So we've kind of went down a little road here talking about you know, how much it is important to have a passion for something, regardless of what it is you're wanting to do. But typically, usually, there are a few influences in our life. They could be good or bad. So give me some examples of some people in your life as you were young and developing that had a huge role, and how was that? How did it apply to you to be able to help you become a better player, a better person?
Man, I know it's everybody always says they look up to your dad, look up to your older brother and stuff like that. And especially like Derek Jeter, we were talking about him earlier, like big role model, captain of the Yankees. Like that's a lifelong dream.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say my brother, he pushed me extremely hard. He was one's like, hey, let's go out and do the garage. Let's hit. Let's go outside. Let's throw. Let's run. Let's go run around the lake. We got to get a mile in today. Just
pushing you.
He was pushing me.
Yeah.
And obviously he's older than I was. And if he was with some of his buddies, I'm like, I want to be with him. So I got to go out there and do this too. And I think just hanging around him and all of his friends, I think that's what really motivated me and push me even harder. I
think there's two pieces of that. One, accountability. You have an accountability partner, right? So if somebody's there to help you along to do the things you don't necessarily feel like doing, and not saying that you didn't want to play baseball and stuff, but like the work, the extra work, the things that are not fun, the behind the scenes things.
So you ever heard of eye wash? Never heard of it. So it's funny. It was actually a thing we used with the Dodgers. We actually made T-shirts of little eyeballs, like taking a shower with like a shower head on it. So eye wash is saying that if a coach is in front of you, you start working, you start doing this, you start doing that because the coach is looking. Right. And now you look like the best player. But it's behind the scenes when the coach isn't around, when you're by yourself, that no one can see you. Like, are you still putting in that same work? So we call it that eye wash. Yeah, champions are made in the dark, not in the spotlight. That's 100%. You think about the Olympics that are about to come up in, I don't know, a month or two. Yeah. And those guys, some will work for 4 years, nonstop, impeccable diets, exercise routines, regimented, and they may only have a 3-minute spotlight moment. Yeah. That they may or may not achieve the goal that they've set out to do. Think about that for a second. And the dedication it takes. And now, if you apply that to every aspect of your life, think about how successful you could be at anything that you decide to go after. Now, you mentioned your brother being one of the big influences in your life. I think that it's remarkable in this. Siblings, it's funny because I can speak to this a little bit, me having a brother that was 6 years younger. If you, the older sibling, are doing the things that you're supposed to, you will influence your younger siblings regardless of what actually it is you're doing. If you're doing something wrong, they're going to want to do that. Yeah. So if you're doing something right, they're going to want to do that. And no matter how much you think that y'all fight and you don't like each other, the bottom line is a younger sibling actually is always looking up to the older sibling. They want to be more like them, even whenever you would ask them and they're older and they'd be like, no, I can't stand that. But deep down, that's really what they want. They want to try to emulate them, and they may even want to try to be better than them, which is a driving force behind it. So that was a great example. And to be honest with you, I think that plays out across America all the time. Can you give me an example of someone, and you don't have to give me names or anything like that, but a situation where a person was not the kind of influence you needed, and whether or not you recognized it or you had some repercussions from it? Because I can tell you personally, there were multiple times, whether it were lieutenants, chiefs, baseball coaches, that I could see the way that they talked to people, they treated people, they were not inspiring. They were very downtrodden on the person. And it's like, if you did 3 things right, they're going to find the one thing wrong and harp on that. Did you have moments like that throughout your years of sports? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. I think it's just how we were talking about before this, like the past generation, the way the coaches were. And yeah, it was, they will let you know when you did something wrong. And it wasn't so much like, hey man, that was a good job. Good job. It's like, no, your foot was in this position, or you're striding too far, or whatever it is. They're going to let you know. And there was really no just like positive feedback. Yeah. So now as you're hitting, you're like, okay, I understand that's the way he coaches. But at the same time, it's like, everybody likes some positive reinforcement. Like, it's just a boost of confidence. It's got to be a balance. Yep. You know, I think that just like, for instance, and forgive the cross analogies, and if this is driving my audience crazy, hey, bear with me. But think about it like this. When you guys come into my lab, all right, you're in my class,
and you go do a scenario. We put the scenarios together all the time. Patients where they're having, I don't know, asthma attack, whatever the case is. And you go out and you run this call. And then whenever we're done, if all I did was harp on everything you did wrong, never mention any of the things I saw that you guys were doing right, does that motivate you to do it again?
No. You think everything you did was wrong. You
just want to back up into a corner, never make a decision, pass it to someone else, because what's the point, right? It has to be a balance. And what I try to do, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but what I try to do is always try to lead with, okay, so I saw you guys doing this. This was good. I like the way that y'all were communicating on this part, whatever it is. And then I'm like, let's look at some stuff that we need to do better next time. And then we'll go down a checklist of things that I saw that you guys missed. Same thing on a ball field. If every single play is scrutinized and microscopic, it's not going to be something that's well received. Yeah. So one of the approaches I like to do, if a kid makes a mistake or something, be like, what'd you do? What should you have done? And see if they've picked it up. Yeah. And if they're like clueless, all right, we got work to do. If they're like, oh, I know I was supposed to have my right foot on, whatever, just whatever the situation is, then it's like, all right, you're paying attention. Let's fix it next time. And then let it go. But man, how detrimental can those coaches be that are constantly beating down a player? What would you say to somebody like that? Or how would you explain to them to have a different approach?
Man, that's a good question, because actually I'll do it with my kids when I'm doing lessons, when I do lessons with them, is if I know they took a perfect swing, I'll ask them, hey, is that a good swing or a bad swing? First thing that always pops in their head, bad swing. I was like, no, you have to trust yourself. It's just coaches nowadays are just constantly beating down on the kids, and now they lost all just confidence in themselves. And now everything they think when you ask them a question, they're like, I think that was good, but I've been told my whole life that every time I ask if that was a good swing, it's always been a bad swing. Mm-hmm. Like every single time. So I feel like these coaches nowadays just need to be careful with what they say with the kids. Yeah, for sure. Definitely be careful.
I think there is a balance. There's a balance, and there's a moment and a time when it's appropriate to be the Bobby Knight coach. Mm-hmm. And then there's a time where you don't need to be the Bobby Knight coach, right? So like for me, and I'll just say this, and we do need to take a break. We're getting long for a second, but I try to judge the attitude of the moment, right? So if the attitude is good and the approach is good, if the situation wasn't, let's fix the situation. Yeah. But if the attitude's bad and the approach is bad and there's a lack of care and concern, there's nowhere to go with that. So you got to get that on point first. That has to be the number one thing. So your mindset. So when we come back from the break, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about mindset, but we're going to blend that into life experience and how baseball has structured you as a person, how you see that as something that you're able to use in your day-to-day walk, and how it has helped you or hurt you in either way with family life. Yeah. So don't go anywhere. Come right back after this. See you in a second.
A great opportunity awaits. The Motivate with Coach Camp podcast is now in its second season, and we are excited to say that we have listeners all over the United States and in 19 countries. If you have a company and you're interested in some very affordable advertising, while at the same time supporting a great cause, please go to motivatewithcoachcamp.com and fill out that sponsorship page, and we'll get right back to you. You can support the podcast through donations on Venmo at Motivate with Coach Camp. Thank you to all the listeners and guests who have blessed this podcast with their engagement and involvement.
All right, everybody, and welcome back from that quick little break. I've been sitting here today talking with Mr. Brandon Montgomery. We've been talking a lot of things baseball. We've also kind of dove in a little bit into life philosophy and stuff, and that's kind of what I want to go toward now. I know this personally. So being Coach Camp, I know that most of my life I had some version or variety of baseball involved in just about every decision I made, whether it was going into the military, going to college, whatever it was. I was thinking in baseball terms. There's terminology. I mean, it's applicable to all aspects of life. And so that mindset stays there. Well, actually what started to help me as I got older was knowing that those philosophies that was being instilled in me, now I could use that to help other people. And so that's the coaching aspect that comes into play. And so for yourself, I know that you've had a lot of coaching, obviously, over the years, a lot of discipline that had to be built in, self-discipline, focus, determination, a lot of these different things. How would you say that some of that has played in or spilled into your personal life and how you handle things at home with the family, with the kids, things like that?
Definitely the structure. As you know, in sports, it's like when the coach sends out a schedule, it's like from this time to this time, we're doing this. From this time to this time, we're doing that. So I think the structure of it definitely, so getting in a routine every day. And I feel like people that haven't experienced like the sports culture, doesn't matter what sport it is or whatever. It's just every sport has a structure, strict limits, like strict time, everything. So especially at home, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to wake up at this time. We're going to have breakfast here. Young kids, so change diapers.
Yeah.
And then let them watch TV for a second, and then go outside and let's go play. So it's just very strict. Okay, here comes nap time. We got to put them down between this time. So it makes it a lot easier, like being a parent, being structured.
Yeah, organizational skills is something that is probably one of the bigger skills you need to be successful as a paramedic.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be systematic in a lot of ways. So that definitely, I could see how that would play into your family life. Now, let me ask you this, because this is also another part of sports. Sometimes the best laid plans and all the prep and all the practice goes out the window in a moment. So how do you think sports helped you as far as being able to adjust on the fly? Because we know that happens all the time in a game.
Yeah, that's, man, you actually stumped me on that. I've never thought about that before.
Being able to shift gears is, I think that's probably one of the biggest. If I were going to stand on a stage and I was going to give like one piece of advice to seniors graduating, it would be learn to be adjustable.
Yeah.
Because I think that's probably the one thing that it's probably one of the hardest things, I should say, as a human, is if your mind and focus and lens is straight towards this, and these are the things that you have to do to be successful at it, and something steps in the way of that, being able to adjust and redirect. The goal, it can always stay the same.
Yep.
But the path to the goal may have to change. And I think a lot of people see, once the path is disrupted, the goal is gone.
Yeah.
And that is not always the case. The goal can stay the same, but you have to learn different ways to get there. And that's one of the things that sports actually gave me, was the ability to not give up on something because it didn't work the way I wanted it to or thought it should the first time. And I had to adjust that, whether it was my approach at the plate, whether it was how I was going after the ball, fielding it or something. But in the end, it was always, the goal is to catch the ball. The goal is to make the play. The goal is to get a hit. What I'm doing is not working.
Yeah.
I gotta switch something up. I gotta change something. Baseball players in the bigs talk about that all the time. Announcers mention it all the time. A ball player may come up to the bat. I mean, like, we'll just use Aaron Judge. I don't know if y'all know him. He's amazing. He comes up and he's struggling. And it's like, all of a sudden they'll see him make an adjustment in the same at bat.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, did you see how he did his leg? Or did you see now how he's moved his body? Whatever the adjustment is, small adjustments can yield big results.
Yep.
So think about a moment in your life where you've had to make a small adjustment in your life that's had some big results. And I can think of one for you if you can't, because I know.
Let's see.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah,
we didn't go over any questions. He actually sent me a message last night. He's like, hey, what kind of questions are going over? Don't you worry about that. I got that. I got it all right
he
here.
said it's just going to be normal conversation.
It's normal conversation.
Don't worry about it.
This is normal.
This is
easy.
me now.
This is easy.
But yeah, what you were saying about the whole Judge, about the adjustment things, like, I think being able to adjust on the fly and then getting into like the real life, especially say in the EMS world, like you're thinking of patients having this happening to them.
Bingo.
And then you're like, oh, no, that's not it. We got to go do this. And the people that haven't experienced that before, and now it's something different. Now they're adjusting, like, instead of freaking out, they're actually been trained before doing the sports and stuff like that. Now they can just go right into it with just whatever. Here we go. Sorry. That was a little mistake. We're good. Let's fix it.
There it is. I was actually going to give you firefighting as the example, because I think many times, I know personally, you get a call for a certain type of fire, and you, in your head, kind of have an idea about what that's going to be like. You get there, and it's something totally different.
Well, as you know, dispatch.
A dispatch, and no knock on dispatch, because they're given, a lot of times, they're given what they're being told, so they don't know. They're not on the scene. So I get that. And then when you get there, it's like, that ain't it at all. And now you got to shift gears. And I think baseball gave me a lot of those tools, and I did not always see it that way. I didn't recognize. It's funny how sometimes you'll go in life and you'll have these different attributes being put into you, and you don't really realize it at the time. And whenever the things come up and they show up and it works out for you, and you look back and you're like, I didn't even realize I was getting it from that. And I try to tell that to my players all the time. It's like, what we're out here doing right now seems like we're just trying to learn how to play the game better and win. But what I'm actually trying to do is build tools within you that you'll be able to use in life forever.
Yep.
This is not something that's just going to stop on a ball field when you cross over those lines. It's going to be something that you can use in everyday life. So I want to go back to your baseball real fast. I didn't get all the way there. We were pretty close. We were pretty close to the end of it, but we were like in the 8th inning, and we got to go one more inning, so I got to bring in the closer on this part of it.
Speaking of Yankees, Mariano Rivera.
Oh, yes.
Enter Sandman.
Enter Sandman.
This is it.
Yeah, well, so this is, I think of this, I'm about to close it down, but not really. We actually got more, but this is the question on the baseball stuff. So when you were making the ranks, when you were climbing through the ranks, all right, so where you go to college, where'd you go?
San Jacinto, Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. And how long did you go to school there?
1 year.
So 1 year. And then what happens?
I signed with University of Miami.
Okay.
And as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't the biggest fan of school.
Yeah.
But I got called in the 5th round by the Miami Marlins.
Okay.
And I actually turned that down. And
was it because it was too far back in the rounds? I'm just curious. I do know, like, the higher up in the rounds, a lot of times a person, or was it because you didn't want to play for Miami?
A little bit of both.
Okay, it's fine.
Just lower budget team. Because when that slot where they called in is 6 figures, like well in the 6 figures, and they offered under that, I'm like, yeah, no.
That's why I was asking. I've got some friends who've been drafted, most of them in football, and, you know, the higher the round, the more the signing bonus.
Exactly.
Obviously. So so that played into it. Then what happened?
Yep. And then the Dodgers called me in like the 26th round and actually offered more than they did in the 5th round. I'm like, okay, yeah, we can go to this.
Yeah.
So I went to the draft instead of going to Miami. But, man, I don't know if you've ever been to University of Miami or to Miami in general.
I've been in Miami.
It's crazy.
It is wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's party town.
Yes, and I get when you're on your official visit, and if y'all haven't experienced that, or hopefully you'll do one day, when you go on an official visit in any sport, they make sure you have the time of your life.
Well, they're trying to sell you on it, right?
Yeah. So the coaches, they took me and my dad out, and we had 2 other recruits with us too. They took our families out. They put us on one of the boosters' yachts, and we just went out in the ocean, had dinner. Like, what do you want? I was like, well, what's on the menu? What do you want? I was like, kind of like steak and lobster. They're like, yeah, here we go, and just brought it to you. It's
nice.
So that experience, I was like, man, this is nice, but obviously it would not have been like that every day.
Sure.
But yeah, Miami would have been fun.
They call that the old bait and switch.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you go out to LA, or so you got drafted.
Yep.
And then do you go out there immediately to play?
We had 2 weeks, 1 week to get ready.
And did they put you straight to single A?
They put you in rookie ball.
Rookie ball, which is below single A.
Yep.
Yeah. So what is that like?
So rookie ball is more the new draft guys come in.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like knowing how the system works. Let's see what you have. Just getting comfortable with like the way the Dodgers operated.
Yeah.
And like we get social media trained. So the whole first week is like more media training, what to do, what not to do, signing our contracts. And under our contracts, a lot of people don't know this, but we're not allowed to drive any dirt bikes, skateboards, motorcycle, like nothing. Anything outside of a car with a motor. Yeah.
Well, you're now an investment.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't want their investment injured.
No.
You know, I'll use one example that I know of. There's more, but Aaron Boone, manager of the Yankees, when he was playing for the Yankees, he had a pickup game of basketball that he was not supposed to. It was in his contract not to play. This is, of course, not me. I don't know Aaron Boone personally. I just read the story. But he tweaks his knee and puts him out, and that canceled his contract. Yeah. Now, because he was honest with them, I think that played into why they went back to him later in his life and was like, we'd like for you to be the manager of the Yankees now. Had he just tried to lie and play it off, I don't think he'd be coaching the Yankees right now.
Madison Bumgarner, that happened to him when I was playing, actually.
That's right. What was he doing?
Dirt bike accident.
Dirt bike. That's right. I remember something about that. So you played with him a little bit.
Well, against him.
Against him.
Yep, because he was with the Giants.
That's a big dude.
He is.
Yeah.
Huge dude.
He's big.
Yes. He was probably one of the hardest, like, arm slots and everything I've ever faced.
Yeah. Did you hit it?
1 for 2 with a strikeout.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man.
No.
If you'd have fouled that one, I'd have been impressed. I mean, look, he became legendary in that World Series where I don't know what he threw, like 74 innings in a 7-game series or some craziness. It was insane. But it was back in those early 2010, 12, 14s when they kept winning. But all right, so you're out there, rookie ball. Then how's that progress for you?
So from rookie ball, they'll break you into the teams. Normally the older, like college kids, like either the senior signs or kids coming out of D1 their junior year, they normally go up to short season, which is advanced rookie pretty much. So if you're in rookie ball, you're at the spring training complex. So I stayed there because I was one of the youngest in my draft class. Me and the
how old were you at that time?
20. It was 19 or 20. So So me and a couple of the high school kids, like we hung back in rookie ball and played in that season. And then from then on out, it goes off of how good you're doing. So from rookie, that same year, I went up to advanced rookie, finished out that season. And my first year of pro ball was very good. I think I hit like 365-ish. Tied the triple record in 30 games and hit 13 home runs.
So you had a little speed on you.
Yeah, a little speed.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I didn't see you run in the class, so I didn't know.
I think I'd pull a hamstring now.
Yeah, well, I get it. I get that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So how long are you there?
From June to we actually have an instructs league also at the end of the season. At the end of the season, you come home for like 1 week, say hi to your family you haven't seen in a while, and then you go back until like November. So I was gone from June to November my very first year.
How was that? Because you're a young guy.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
You didn't get homesick?
No.
Okay.
No homesick. I didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have anything. So.
You're living a life then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I will say this. For most people that are young and they've never been away from home, that can be tough.
Yes.
But, you know, you did yourself a favor by not having a relationship. I'll say that part because that's always a big, that's a distraction.
That gets almost everybody. I'm not saying
no, I get it. Yeah.
Like a lot of people do it. I was married my last year of ball. Like everything's fine. But it does make it harder when you leave home.
Sure.
Leaving family, especially the older people that have been in pro ball for a while that have been married, have kids. Like now they're leaving your kids from, I normally left spring training around February 14th, and I want to get home until end of October.
Yeah.
And
they can travel some, maybe meet you at places, but you're not really spending a lot of time. You got to go to the field, you got to get ready, you got the game, then you got to clean up, you got to go back to bed, whatever. And yeah, I've had several friends that's been up and down to the pros, and that's kind of their story. It's like, if you're going to get married or have a relationship, they got to be all in. It's not too undifferent. The big difference is pay, but it's not too different than military. If you're in certain parts of the military, not every job, but some jobs in the military, you got to have a strong spouse because you're going to be in and out and gone for long periods of time. And that's a commitment that most relationships are not challenged with.
Yeah.
It's a unique scenario. Now, even football and maybe even basketball, they don't face the kind of long schedule that a baseball has. I wouldn't imagine. I've never actually looked at the whole breakdown part of it, but I mean, from February to October, that's a chunk of the year.
Well, I know football is it's harder on your body because there's contact and everything, but what is NFL, 13 games a season?
I think it's
13?
16.
Is it 16?
Yeah.
With baseball, we're at 164.
Yeah. Well, 162. It's okay. I'm a freak.
Yeah,
man. I'm a freak. You can name any year. Name a year. Name a year. This is not scripted. Name a year.
What's the subject?
Any year. Any year in the world.
Let's see. 2026.
2026. That was the Rangers.
Yeah.
They're going to win in 2026.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I do. I know that.
I think the
I looked into the
future.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about a year before 2024.
Let's see.
Brandon. See, now you're throwing me curveballs. Yeah. See what I'm saying?
See?
Give me a fastball.
Adjustability.
Yeah, I know, right? I came up with one. The Rangers.
2004.
You would say 2004. The Red Sox. God, I hate them. I'm a Yankees fan. My daughter's name is Mattingly, after Don Mattingly.
Really?
Yeah. It's deep. That's why I said I'm sick.
Huh.
I got problems.
I see that.
Yeah. But anyways, yes, I know every year the World Series champ, unfortunately. I can't get it out of my head. I've tried many times. So
do you think 2020 was or is it 21 when the Dodgers?
It's 2020.
What do you think about that? Half season?
Nobody can take it away from them.
No.
You can't put an asterisk on it because anybody that would have won had to win with the same parameters.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't take anything from them. The Dodgers and the Yankees, they have a long rivalry. Mm-hmm. We just played them in 3 games. We lost 2 out of the 3. They're a good team.
Yeah.
They're a solid team. You got Shohei. I mean, what else can I say? You got all these other big Mookie Betts and Freeman and all them guys. So, yeah, they're stacked. All right. So when do you make it up to AAA?
It was actually my last year of pro ball.
Okay.
It was AAA.
And how long did you get to stay there? 1 year?
No, actually, I was there for 1 series.
1 series?
1 series.
Okay.
And it was so Gavin Lux, who's the
I know Gavin
right now for the Dodgers.
Yeah, he had 2 hits against us last night. But sorry.
So he goes to I think it was Team USA or like the Futures game or something like that. So he was gone for a little bit. So I was in AA at the time, and it's only like a 2-hour drive from Tulsa to Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. So they just called me up to finish out that series. And I didn't know at the time that's what it was for. I was like, oh, okay, I'm just getting that much closer.
Yeah.
And the game I actually got sent back. I went 1 for 3 and hit a home run dead center.
Did you?
And we won that game. And I get back in the locker room. I'm like all pumped. Like, man, first AAA at bat, I hit a home run. Like, okay, I'm going. Manager calls me in the office. I'm like, what is this about? Let's see what's going on here. And he goes, hey, sorry, dude, but you're going back down to AA. I was like, yeah. Well, thanks for the opportunity.
So clearly, this speaks to what we've been talking about this whole time: a passion, a focus, the work ethic, the discipline. You get your one shot, then that's it. Disappointment is there,
yes,
for sure,
but
the passion didn't die.
Nope, never died.
So how much longer do you play before it's like, or how does that happen? How does the end come? How does the end look for Brandon? So like you're in AA, and then where does that come? Where does it, like they say, all right, we're sending you to single A, or you're just like, you know what, I'm good.
Man, I told myself I would never give up on my dream.
Yeah.
So I was going to let them end it for me.
Okay.
Instead of me giving up on myself. And when it all ended, it was December 2019. And COVID hasn't happened yet. And me and my wife were talking about, man, what do we want to do?
Yeah.
Because I got a call from the Giants, actually. Thought, hey, we're going to do a trade with you. So let's get these players worked out, and you're going to come play for us. I was like, all right, sweet. Like, I'm good for that. Like, I've been in the Dodger organization for 4 seasons now. It's a stud organization.
I could only imagine.
The farm system.
I'd have no
crazy.
doubt.
So when you're playing like that game, it's like, okay, let's go to a team that's like the farm system's not the best. You work up quicker. Now you're in the big leagues. So when the Giants called, I was like, okay, yeah, I'd love to do that. So I called the Dodgers. I was like, hey, I need my release. So because I was still under contract with them. So I was like, hey, can I get my release? The Giants want to pick me up, and I feel like I have a better opportunity over there. And our farm director was loved to do to death. He was very nice, but he goes, dude, I'm all in. Like, you're probably going to be doing better over there than over here. You're starting to get old for us. You've been here for a while. So, yeah, I'll give it to you. Get my release, told my agent and everything. I was like, yeah, I got my release. Let's go to the Giants. And then next thing you know, COVID happened, canceled everything. And at the end of that season, the Giants called back and was like, hey, like MLB's doing a big cut. I think they ended up releasing like 1,200 minor leaguers. And I was one of them. So I get a call to get traded. And the Giants are like, man, you have a good spring training. Like, you're on our big league roster. Like, you're going. And then all of a sudden, COVID happened, and then
things just never got back on track.
Never.
Did you ever wonder if things would have been different if you'd went to Miami?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Because chances might have been better for you to move up at that point. What year was that when you first?
2016.
Yeah. The last time they had won was 2013, I believe.
Yeah.
So then, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, no, was it 2013? Did I mess that up? It's impossible. Couldn't have messed it up. I think I may have.
You know better than I do.
I don't know.
But, yeah, I think about that all the time. I got some buddies that actually made it to the big leagues in that same draft class with the Marlins. I'm like, I've always been better than this dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that hindsight's 2020 thing that you can't use.
I talked to him about their experience in minor league baseball, and like, dude, it was miserable.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
With the Dodgers being a big budget team, like my minor league experience, dude, it was fun.
So let me ask you then.
Like, we had a personal chef that traveled around with us.
Really?
Everything, yeah.
In the AA system?
Yep. And
wow.
Rookie, low
rookie
A,
ball even.
Everything.
That is. I bet the Yankees are probably the big market teams are probably like that.
For sure. Like, we had to eat all organic or we got in trouble.
Really?
Yeah. So the chef, all organic steaks, organic cereal, organic eggs, bacon. Have you ever had organic pancakes and syrup?
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
I just try to always ask for extra gluten. I don't know. Give me all the sticky stuff.
Yeah, miserable.
It's miserable. It's not good, is it?
Not good.
Bland?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Like eating the table. Like,
yeah. So I don't even know what qualifies necessarily organic. Like, I've got chickens.
Yeah.
But they eat everything out there. So does that make them not so organic?
I guess that just makes them free range chickens. I don't know.
They're free range. Trust me, they're free range. And then things eat them. So that's crazy too. But so I was going to ask you real quick before we move into the last piece of conversation here. So clearly being in baseball, and this is my opinion, I think it's one of the most diverse sports that's out there, period.
Yes.
You have people from all over. Literally, you got to be the best in the world, not just the best in an area, the best in the entire world at a sport. And let's say, I think that it is not, I don't know what the percentages are, what the numbers are, but I think that we can say that a lot, if not half or more, are Latino background, because clearly that's what they love down in there. So every country has their sport, right? If you go to England, I don't know, it's probably cricket and soccer or something. I'm guessing. I'm throwing some stuff out there. Maybe they got rugby in there too. But like in the coastal areas, you go down to like everywhere from Dominican Republic to Cuba, all those areas, or Cuba, however they want to say, because I've had a friend correct me, like, it's Cuba. I'm like, all right, whatever. So those guys play a lot of baseball year round.
Yeah.
What was that like for cultural experience? Because being in those farm systems, I guarantee you were getting a lot of exposure.
Man, it was, I actually had an old coach of mine that used to teach me hitting. He's like, man, when you get in a pro ball, it's different. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, when all these Dominicans and Venezuelans, when they get there, like it's different. They play shortstop. They play second base. It's just, that's all they do. It's, they don't have any schooling there. It's just all baseball academies. Dude, a lot of the guys couldn't even read. But man, could they
like not even Spanish?
Nope.
Wow.
But they could hit a baseball a mile, and they could throw 96 across the infield.
So when you say baseball is life.
Oh, it's life.
It is life.
That's literally the only way they get out of their country.
Yeah. So that is their meal ticket, so to speak.
Yep.
You know, Sammy Sosa, I remember him telling a story once about what he used as a glove. It was like a Wendy's cardboard cup that he would flatten out, and that was how he would use a glove. And also in this, I can't remember the article I was reading on, but he didn't even start baseball until he was 14. He was from Dominican Republic, so he never even played baseball till he was 14. And, well, we all know the story of Sammy Sosa, I'm sure. So when you are getting all this different exposure, does that make you a better player or a better person? Which one would you say has a bigger thing for you?
I would say, honestly, both. With some of those guys, I was doing one I was doing one thing with hitting, and they're like, man, can you work with my hitting a little bit? I'm feeling a little off. I was like, I'll work with your hitting if you can help me with.
So it's like bartering on talent.
Yeah,
I like it.
So I would help them with hitting, and then they would help me actually with my hands. I'm like transferring balls, because I don't know, Domingo Ayala.
Yeah,
how he did all this like cool little tricks and everything.
Yeah,
that was just all natural to him, and I couldn't do that. Yeah. So we kind of just exchanged with that. So it was kind of cool. He helped me out with my hands, and I ended up getting extremely fast hands because of him. And then he actually started going off and hitting. I was like, hey, this is one thing you're doing that I see. I'm just a player, not your coach, but this is one thing I see. And all of a sudden he just went off and just started working his way up. And then as a person, I was telling you earlier, in Venezuela, it's not the safest country in the world, especially had a good buddy of mine that I play with saying if we're walking around the streets with our cell phones, like we'll get jumped for the cell phones. It's like, so it was honestly starting to scare me. It's like, man, I want all y'all to come back. Like,
yeah,
I got extra bedrooms. Like, come stay with me. I'll show you what Tennessee's like. I'll show you the country. Like, just
it's bad when Memphis seems like a safer choice. Yes. I'm just saying, it's like, Memphis is bad, but y'all should see Venezuela. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
So it was, you get close with these guys and they start opening up to you. And once they start opening up to you, you're just like, dude, if I've ever struggled in life, like,
it gave you a different perspective.
Yes. I was like, I never struggled compared to them.
Sure.
And it's really changed me.
It does open your lens to a lot of things, no doubt about it. Now, I wanted to bring that up because me personally, I can say this with full confidence. It wasn't until I went in the military that I even understood that life is drastically different in America from one side to the next. I did not travel much growing up. We didn't go a lot of places. And so when I go in the military, of course, I'm not just going all over America, but I'm traveling around the world to different spots. And it's like, wow. You know, and back then to be fair, we didn't have internet. You know, Windows 95 came along after I was out of college. I was in the military at that point. So the world wasn't small like it is now.
Yeah.
And so the idea of what was different was not to me. So I would imagine that was an amazing experience at a young age that probably has helped you in areas of your life that you don't even realize.
Yeah.
So I did want to bring that up because I do know that a lot of the people I've spoken with that have had those experiences, whether they've played in some high-end competitive ball all the way up to the major leagues, that was one of the things was the culture. And then when you get into the locker room, you know, you're not hearing any one genre of music. No. It's everything. It's a salsa band. It's whatever, you know, it's got all kind of stuff going on in there. So
man, locker rooms are fun.
Locker rooms can be a lot of fun is what I've heard.
And also to bring back how it's different and everything. Obviously, they've never had a Dave & Buster's. Dave & Buster's is a fun
the small
place.
Things, right?
Small things. So in Instructs League, I was explaining to you, if you win a competition, they give you money or whatever. And so I won a infield competition on like accuracy, and all the guys was with me. It was there's some Dominican guys, and there's some other like smaller countries that they're all from. I was like, hey guys, like barely spoke English, so I had to like use Google Translate to talk to them. I was like, hey, y'all come with me. I'm treating y'all to a Dave & Buster's night. Y'all go be kids. And man, we walked into Dave & Buster's, all the games flashing, all the lights, the bowling, like everything. And they're just like freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, what is all this stuff? And so, dude, we went out and just had a blast that night. They loved, first time they ever played that dance game.
Yeah.
Never played that before. And the Hispanic culture, they like dancing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
They stayed on that the whole time. There was
they probably were winning. It's like, they got a lot of tickets over here, so we got to get these guys off.
I had a Kung Fu Panda game.
That's
They've never seen Kung Fu Panda. It was just like almost like Whack-A-Mole, but it's Kung Fu Panda, and they loved it.
Yeah.
So we just spent there all night, and dude, after that experience, I'm like, dude, I need to start being better to every person I ever meet.
Isn't it cool?
Like, I don't know their struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of thing was opened up to me in a lot of ways, but never more personal than when we had an exchange student from Brazil come live with us for a while. And she just, man, it's just an enrichment of life whenever you're around different cultures like that. And you have that opportunity to kind of learn things about them, what they've had and what they've not had, and then realize how, you know, good maybe sometimes we've had it, especially here in America. So as we get closer to the finish line, we're almost there. And Brandon, I can't thank you enough for coming in and speaking on these topics. I mean, this is something that's, I think it's going to touch every small town in America. You know, this is not big city stuff. This is every little niche of America. People play sports, kids play sports, and baseball, of course, is one of the more popular sports in America. I don't know what they would rank as the best, because it's not like, if you go to the Dominican Republic, it's a slam dunk, it's baseball.
Oh, yes.
In America, I want to say it's baseball. It is for me. Oh, and by the way, I thought about it.
Football.
2013, it might be. 2013, well, for me, it would be college football. I'm a big college fan. Yes. I don't watch a lot of NFL, but I'm big in college football. 2013 was the Red Sox. I remember I was like, no, that didn't sound right. And it's like, God, now I know why I pushed it out of my head. It was 2003 that the Marlins won. So it was the three in my head that got glitched. And it's also, I'm trying to block out all those rings that the dang Red Sox won. Last piece. So here we are. You found the disappointment. You've had to hit reset in life.
Yep.
You still have a passion for baseball. It's obvious because you're with Beast Athletics. # Beast Athletics in Collierville. What brought you in the world of firefighting? Because I haven't heard anybody in your family that's a firefighter. And we got to wrap on this one because I got to know.
My brother.
Your brother's a firefighter?
He was.
Okay.
He was a firefighter.
Okay.
So he started in Piperton, like Rossville, out there in the country, volunteer.
I'm familiar.
So he did that for a while, and then he actually went to Memphis and was a Memphis paramedic firefighter for right at like 7 years.
What's his name?
Justin Montgomery.
I do know him, don't I?
He was over at Lamar. What is that?
Yes, 16th.
16th, yeah. Is that the busiest station in Memphis?
Ish. They switch up.
So what?
They're so busy.
The busiest station off like Lamar Airways area.
That's the busiest one in that area.
Yeah.
Now, who gets the most calls? That changes from one year to the next because there's like 6 or 7 stations just slammed.
But yeah, he did that. And like I said before, whatever he does, I kind of do. But I don't see myself over doing the engineer route. He had all the brains of the family.
So you're going to leave that one with him?
I'll leave that one.
Well, we also heard that you didn't go for the first 3 periods of class. So it's probably about engineering at that time. And just threw it away.
Engineering is a lot of math.
There's a lot of math.
I was skipping math.
Well, baseball's a lot of statistics.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It is.
That doesn't matter. I was a database analyst in the Air Force, which is all statistics, and I hated every bit of it. You know why? Because it wasn't a batting average. It wasn't an on-base percentage. It had nothing to do with an ERA. Screw that crap. It was horrible. You should have
been the main actor in Moneyball.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something right now. I think I missed an opportunity. I'm not saying it's too late, but something to do with baseball and acting would have been great in that realm. I will say this. Now that you are out of pro ball, and you're now coaching, I want my listeners to hear this final message, and that being, if you have a passion towards something, we'll just say basketball or football or baseball, it could be anything really, writing. Don't think that your only option is the top of the mountain pro. If I could go back in time, I would have told me, you should probably do broadcasting. Turns out, I kind of like talking on a microphone, if you haven't noticed. Yeah. I probably would have been okay at that. I'm just saying. I could have been up in a booth, but I didn't pursue that at the time. So never sell yourself short. So, Brandon, we're here at the end. Do you have anything you want to leave my listeners with? Any final thoughts? What you got?
Man, once you have your mind on something, don't stop. Doesn't matter what it is, just whatever you have your mind set on. If you set goals, high expectations, you're always going to get there.
Go all in, give it everything you've got, and along the way, even if you don't achieve the ultimate goal, you're going to hit so many checkpoints in your life. You're going to be successful in so many other areas that it was not a wasted journey. I think that you're living proof of that now. You know, everything you've done in your life has built the person you are today, and I think that you're able to give that back to society now. So I appreciate you. I thank you for coming down to the studio today.
For having me.
I want to say thank you to my listeners, my viewers, all the time checking in with me, sending me messages. Hey, I like the fact that on a regular basis, somebody's like, you should check this person out. They're pretty good. They're over here in Lafayette, Louisiana. I'm like, let me have their number. Let's talk right now. Continue to tune in each and every week. Go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Subscribe to my YouTube. And until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape,